What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So The Boys Season 3 just dropped today, the first 3 episodes at least. And in this video, we will be talking spoilers. I'll be recapping everything that happened in the first 3 episodes, giving you guys my opinion and my rating for those episodes, but also dissecting what happened, further explaining maybe some of the confusing aspects of the show. There is a lot of story and plot points that are going on in these first 3 episodes, so it could be a little bit confusing, so I'm going to try and explain that as best as I can, but also walk you guys through what I thought was hilarious, maybe like some problems I had with it, and that's pretty much it. So if you guys end up enjoying this video, please make sure to like it. Please make sure to subscribe if you're new. But let's talk about the first 3 episodes of The Boys. So the first episode is titled Payback, and it begins with the Dawn of the Seven movie, as we get a cameo from Charlize Theron, who's playing Stormfront in the movie. I thought this was a great opening for the movie. I love Charlize Theron. She also just had another big cameo in another recent movie. To see her pop up here, another cameo, I thought it was pretty funny. She was great to see. I thought it was a great way to open it up. But as we go from here, we get reminded about like why we love this show so much. We get probably the craziest, most uncomfortable, vulgar thing we could probably see in a TV show, as we see a miniature superhero man go inside of the penis hole of another man, and while he's inside there pleasuring the other guy, he accidentally sneezes and he busts open the other guy and splits him right in half. Gore everywhere, and it sort of just reminds you about like why you watch a show, right? It has the gore, it has this weird sexual sort of like beyond the boundaries things that no other television show I think has ever done, and it's just funny. Like if everyone has a different sense of humor, so this isn't gonna be for everyone. But for me personally, I thought this was a hilarious way to start the episode. As we go from here, Frenchie busts in. They try to capture the miniature guy. It seems like he's still strong even as a small person. I thought this was comical as well until finally Butch is able to come in, grab him, and suffocate him in some sort of cocaine, and they're able to like capture him. But after this, we get another fun little cameo from Simon Pegg, who's most notably known for Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, At World's End, and plenty of others. He is playing Huey's father in a little FaceTime scene where he's just talking to his dad. I think it was about Starlight. I don't think that was anything too important, but another fun cameo. After this, we go and we see Butch, who's visiting Ryan and Grace. Ryan is, his lover's kid. He's now taking care of Homelander's child, and he's staying with Grace. And so Butch is talking to the kid, and Butch tells him, or the kid tells Butch that he's having nightmares of his father, Homelander, burning everything around him before killing him. Now, I think this was thrown in here for a reason. I think maybe it could be some sort of foreshadowing. Do I think Homelander will one day burn everything to the ground around him, and I think he will, knock down a whole city and destroy the whole city? I think one day he will become unhinged and burn everything around him. So I think this could be a foreshadowing of a vision. Will Homelander kill that kid? I'm not sure, but it's pretty cool that they sort of threw that in here to maybe foreshadow future events. After this, we get to see Homelander, who's on the Cameron Coleman Hour, some sort of news interview that he's doing. And it just shows what a manipulative piece of shit Homelander is. He is such a great actor, Anthony Starr. He does a great job of playing one of the most diabolical villains in TV history. I think he is such a great character, so much depth to him, and I think this season is just going to flesh him out even more. As we saw by the end of the 3rd episode, he's just going to go crazy in this season. So I absolutely love the performance from Anthony Starr here. But after this, we go to Stan, who's played by Giancarlo Esposito. And it seems like Stan has some regrets about making the soups. It seems like he wants to get out of the business, but before he gets out of the business, he wants to perfect the product. And that's where he shows that serum that Butch will take on later on. And it seems like he wants to sell it to the army. He's talking to some sort of government official. And it seems like what he's trying to do here is perfect that product so he can sell it to the army so that they can be soups for 24 hours. Giancarlo Esposito, I do think he has the strongest on-screen presence for any TV actor ever. I think he plays a villain perfectly. After seeing him in Breaking Bad and now Better Call Saul, and he's now, Moff Gideon, The Mandalorian. He's been villains in video games. He is such a great actor, and I just love seeing him any single time he's on my screen. Great, I love him. So seeing that he actually has doubts and regrets making the soups, I thought that was interesting. But after this, he actually named Stargirl co-captain. Homelander is the captain, but because of his ratings are down, because of his affiliation with Stormfront, I remember it was released to the public that she was a Nazi, so everyone hated her. It came out that they were dating, so now Homelander is affiliated with Stormfront, so his ratings have been down. So he decided to make Stargirl co-captain so that the ratings can be bumped right back up, right? And I also want to say that I love how this show depicts superheroes. They make it seem like they're just like these high-end celebrities, and I think that's sort of like how they would actually be portrayed today, especially with TikTok now. Like, they would be glorified. They would actually have their own television shows, their own reality shows, and they're just like pretty much modern celebrities but with superpowers, right? So they're sort of like half celebrities, half gods. And I just love the portrayal of that in the show, as they throw in all these little stuff like that 24/7 dating show. They have a reality show. I love, like, it creates that world building for the boys. Like, it makes for a better like world building atmosphere for the show. But after this, as Homelander is walking out, he bumps into A-Train, who seems to be gaining some weight. I love this interaction between them, as it looks like Homelander just wants to take his anger out on somebody. And so he goes after A-Train for drinking that milkshake. As A-Train is walking away, he whispers "fuck you" to Homelander. But because Homelander has super hearing, he hears it. So I thought it was a great interaction for him to get in his face. And he just wants to pop off in front of someone, right? So A-Train just happened to be the first person he saw that he wanted to take his anger out on. So after this, he goes to Stormfront. And so Stormfront is still alive. She's looking like Anakin Skywalker after the end of the Revenge of the Sith. She only got one arm. Her face is all half burnt. And Homelander has her jerk him off, which, again, I thought this was hilarious. I don't even know like what kind of humor. This is just dark humor, right? Having this scarred, decrepit, broken woman, and he just has her jerk him off. I thought it was hilarious. So she's still alive for this episode. I will say that I do have my problems with the next episode for what they do with her character, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But after this scene, we go back to Butch, who is getting some sort of file on Soldier Boy. And in the file, it says that the weapon that killed Soldier Boy might actually be used to kill Homelander. And so Butch sort of has his doubts about this weapon. He thinks that it's not even real. But as he's reading the file, he sees that Homelander has arrived on his porch. And so he lets him in, and they sort of have like this, not a heated discussion, but a very like high tension discussion where they talk about destiny. And they both agree that their destiny should be that there should only be one man left standing. And the only reason why Homelander hasn't killed Butch at this point, or like why he's keeping him alive, is because Butch knows where his son is, right? And so Homelander wants to figure it out, but Butch isn't telling him. And so Homelander's keeping him alive until he can figure it out. But I think eventually, Homelander, he's going to snap at some point. He'll either figure out where the kid is, or like he says, he'll pull Butch limb from limb until he tells him. Which I don't even think Butch would ever give Homelander that satisfaction. But so now at the very end of this episode, after this is where we see Victoria Newman, who works for I think it was the FDSA. I forgot what the actual company is that Huey and her work at. And she was being called on by this person named Ryan, or no, it was Tony. And he was calling her Nadia. And so it sort of happened in the very beginning of the movie for the Dawn of the Seven movie premiere. Like, it was some random guy named Tony saying Nadia, Nadia, and Huey was looking at it like I don't know what was up there. So now at the very end, he comes back. Huey follows them into an alley. And so he overhears them talking about this thing called the Red River, about what happened to Tony. Like, it's very sort of vague. I couldn't really make out like what exactly they could be talking about. But they end up fighting, and then Nadia blows his whole jaw off before just exploding his everything. Like, she explodes his whole body, and there's gore everywhere. And it seems like she does feel bad for killing him. Like, I don't think she's like too much of a bad guy. So she sort of feels bad, and she calls for a team to do like some sort of cleanup job on what she just did. But Huey was there, and Huey saw the whole thing. So now he knows that she's a soup. And I think we already knew that she was a soup. Because I remember in, I think, season 2 or season 1, she was the one who was blowing everyone's heads up, right? And so the episode ends like that. And so my rating for this episode is a 4 out of 5. I thought it was a great start to the show. Like I said, it sort of reminded us about like why we're actually watching. It gave us all the gore we wanted, all the laughs, all that dark humor, and then further analysis on Homelander, or like where all these characters are at, like Butch and Huey. So I loved it. It was a great start, and let's just move into episode 2. So episode 2 begins with Butch having a dream of injecting that serum, right, that we saw Stan use. He wants to perfect that serum. For 24 hours, you can become a soup. Butch has his hands on it now, and he's a dream of injecting it. This is an obvious foreshadow of him eventually using it. As we saw in the trailer, he was going to eventually use it, right? So after this, we see Stargirl flirting with like her old boyfriend. Like when they were 18, they lost their virginity to each other. We see Huey is jealous of this relationship. Like this did make me not hate Stargirl, but it did annoy me like how she was like interacting with this old boyfriend in front of Huey. And this is definitely gonna be played into, I think, at some point later on the season. Either, she'll cheat on Huey with this guy named Alex, whose superhero name is Supersonic, I believe. And that could lead to something where like Huey maybe turns on Stargirl, or Stargirl turns on Huey, and they break up somehow. I think that this isn't just like some sort of flirtatious fling that the show is giving us. Like they're giving it to us for a reason. And I think it's for a future plot point where Stargirl was going to do something with him. I think she'll eventually cheat on Huey with this dude. So after this, we have Butch going to Marvin, who he wants Marvin's help for locating the Soldier Boy, right? To learn more about Soldier Boy. And so we learn that Marvin's dad has some sort of connection with Soldier Boy. We don't know what the connection is at this point, but as we'll learn later on, we'll learn that Soldier Boy was the one that killed Marvin's dad. And I think Marvin's whole family, is what he says, which we don't really get to see that in these first 3 episodes. But so Marvin sort of says that he doesn't want to go up to Soldier Boy because he doesn't want to make the same mistakes as his dad did. It seems like his dad neglected his kids in order to find Soldier Boy. So he doesn't want to make the same mistakes. He wants to spend time with his daughter. And that's sort of like where that's left at, right? After this, we see Frenchie and the girl who can't speak. Well, I forgot her name. But they go to the Crimson Countess, who is singing at some children's park about Soldier Boy. And she's sort of like recounting the story of what the public sees Soldier Boy as. It's like this person who sacrificed himself to stop a nuclear war from happening. They call him America's son. And we see that Soldier Boy is painted in this like Captain America sort of light. So after the play, they go backstage to talk to Crimson Countess to figure out what actually happened, because they sort of know that that's all bullshit. This leads to some sort of fight that leads outside, and Crimson Countess, trying to kill Frenchie and the female, ends up blowing up this mascot. And this was, again, I don't know if this was supposed to be funny, but like blood splatters like all over the kids. Like the kids are traumatized. Definitely not funny, especially like right now. It's not funny at all. But I just thought, like, it was just like dark humor, I guess, like in a Trojans park. This is definitely not the right time to be making jokes like this. Alright, so moving on after this, we see Huey go to a school for superpowered kids, who's trying to figure out more about Victoria. While he's there, he pretends to be infertile so that he can download files on Victoria. He's able to get his hands on some sort of video, and on the video it shows that Stan, who's played by Giancarlo Esposito, actually adopted Victoria. So while he's watching this, we cut to Victoria actually going to Stan and saying that someone dropped the ball, as in Ryan, as in the person that she just killed in the alleyway, saying that he dropped the ball by calling her Nadia. And so she reminds him that nobody's supposed to call her that near her workplace. So there's definitely some vague stuff as we learn that Stan adopted Victoria and that they had some sort of operational relationship involving Nadia, which I guess is her real name. It's Victoria Newman's real name, I guess, is Nadia as a kid. And they changed it to hide her identity so that she wouldn't come off as a soup, because in the files it looked like her name was Nadia for the superpower kids. So like I said, a little bit confusing there. Like I'm trying to just make it as clear as I can, but it's confusing. But after this, we go back to Butch, who is trying to learn more about Soldier Boy. He's trying to go to like some of his old team members or people that used to know Soldier Boy. This leads into some gun convention, which again is very on par with like what's going on at least today in America. America's having a lot of arguments and stuff about guns and all these gun laws. So it's sort of like conveniently funny how when Butch walks through the airport security, he says, I got this gun. And then the security is like, oh, nice piece, just come on in. It was funny, but it's also for a gun convention, so it makes sense that the security guard would be acting like that. So while going there, we actually cut away to see what Homelander's up to. And it seems like he's trying to save a girl from jumping off the building for a publicity stunt. It's like the cameras are all there. It's like Homelander's going to save the day. He's going to go save this little girl. And it's going to bring his ratings back up, right? But while he's talking to the girl, he looks behind him and there's breaking news. Stormfront has committed suicide. It seems like she's bit her own tongue and she has died. This is where I have a problem with like how they use Stormfront. Like she did feel sort of wasted in these 2 episodes. I kind of want to believe that because her death was off screen, maybe she's not actually dead. I feel like she was a huge character in season 2. To just kill her off screen in some suicide does feel sort of like a wasted thing and a weak sort of plot point or decision on like the writer's team. So I feel like maybe she's not dead. But it's also like, what's the reason for like them hiding that? Like whatever her fake suicide, she's probably working with someone. Like, who's behind that? Why would they do that? Why would they make Homelander think that? So I think that could play into something later on. But because he sees this, Homelander, he he doesn't care about the girl anymore. He says, "I actually want you to jump." He actually forces her to jump, I believe. We don't see him actually pushing her or anything like that, but I want to believe that he used some sort of like he blew like some sort of like Superman wind power at her and like literally pushed her off the building. Because as we see, she dies, and the whole publicity stunt fails. And I love that before he does this, he says a sick line when she says, "Oh God," and he says, "No God, the only man up in the sky is me." Sick, badass, I think iconic line from Homelander. I absolutely love that. But after this, we go back to Butch, who gets a call from Huey. And Huey tells Butch that Victoria Newman is a soup, and she's always been a soup. It's all been rigged from the beginning, and like we have to do it his way, right? And so I thought it was a cool reveal of when Butch is talking to that guy at the gun convention, and it leads to a fight, leads to a shootout, and Butch gets shot. And we obviously knew that he took the pill. They're not going to just shoot Butch and he's going to die like that, right? But I love the reveal of like him getting shot, and then he gets up and he just starts using all of his powers. And I love how he's beating up on the guy, like brutal. Like I thought he was going to kill him right with his own punches. Before the guy dies, Butch asks him about the CIA, about Soldier Boy, like what the connection, or I think the guy tells Butch that the CIA are involved, and Butch didn't know that. So he knows that the CIA was involved in Soldier Boy's death, and that he never actually died in that nuclear explosion. That was all a fake. That was all a lie. And so the guy reveals that to Butch, and then Butch just can't really control his heat vision powers. So it just happens to come out, and he splits the dude's skull in half, along with the car. Again, sick scene. I love how gory the show is. I love how brutal it is. And it really showed that like Butch doesn't know how to use his powers. Like he just doesn't know what's happening here. He has his powers for 24 hours. Like he's gonna be reckless. So I love that. I love that he wasn't just like a master of these powers from the very beginning. So now at the very end, we have this celebration for Homelander's birthday, where Homelander and Stargirl are, talking to the public, talking to the audience, and someone in the audience tells Homelander that his Nazi died. He screams out like, "Hey Homelander, your Nazi is dead," and Homelander is just like smiling. He has like this sick smile, like you can just tell he's about to be unhinged and go crazy. And so he's about to crack, and then he does. I forgot what the exact moment was or what was said, but he just starts going off, and he talks about how he's the real hero and the public needs him, and that's how the episode ends, with like him saying that. So my rating for this episode is also the same rating as the first, a 4 out of 5. I thought they were sort of on the same tier. Anyone who likes the 10 ratings, this is like an 8 out of 10, I'd say, for both episodes so far. Again, I really love this. I don't think there was anything that was like in here that was better than the first. I don't think the first had anything better than this one. I thought they were both in the same tier of greatness. But again, the humor, the gore, further developing the story. Butch actually getting his powers was a sick moment. Love seeing that. And then learning all this stuff about Stan and Victoria, and going to the adoption center or the superpowered kids school, and learning that Stan adopted Victoria, and this whole Nadia fake name thing, and then Homelander being just reckless at the end, and that "No God, only man in the sky is me" line. It was a really memorable, great episode. But let's go on to episode 3. So episode 3 begins with the fallout of Homelander's speech that we just talked about. And the fallout's actually positive towards Homelander. His ratings go up from that speech. They sort of hint that it's like white males that he has popularity with, and that's why his ratings went up. I think it said urban neighborhoods, it went down, but he's had like a 93% increase, which is higher than anyone, even Soldier Boy, must be huge, because they really made Soldier Boy like that Captain America sort of feel, and the fact that he sacrificed himself for everyone, or that's what everyone believes. It's pretty interesting that Homelander has an even higher reputation or higher popularity rate than like the savior of the human race, which is probably what Soldier Boy is looked upon as through the public's eyes. So after this, we have Marvin, Butch, Frenchie, the female girl, and they go and visit Grace and Billy. And so this is where they start to question Grace, because she was part of the CIA, right? And so Grace talks about this thing called Operation Charlotte, and this is where the flashbacks come in. So we get flashbacks of Grace and how she's a part of this Operation Charlotte with the Payback team. And so the Payback team was Soldier Boy's old team. That's where we had that Crimson, the girl that was singing in the Children's Park, the Crimson Countess, whatever her name was. And Black Noir is also part of that team. And so during these flashbacks, she explains how she was in charge of trafficking cocaine at this time, and then using that money to buy weapons for the government. And so she said that she only sold the cocaine in minority neighborhoods, This obviously upsets Marvin as a minority. It's sort of like, in this world, it sort of like explains like why the minority neighborhoods got hooked on these drugs, because it was like the CIA was feeding it to them, and it's like sort of like this conspiracy theory behind this whole thing. I thought it was an interesting thing to throw in there, and then during this time we also learned that Soldier Boy is the one that killed Marvin's family. I already talked about that, but this is where we learn. We also see Black Noir unmasked, and like he's also a minority figure as well. And later on in this episode, we will see him get burnt, and like sort of explains like why he keeps the mask on, because he did in these flashbacks, he wanted to keep the mask off, like he always wanted to keep it off, and he was actually allowed to from Stan, but because his face gets burnt, it's why he keeps it on. But after this, we get to see the Deep and Starlight have some sort of conversation in front of Homelander, where Homelander is trying to make them make amends. And he tells Starlight to try and forgive the Deep for mouth-fucking her. But Starlight is not ready to forgive him yet. And so Homelander sort of antagonizes Starlight after this. After the Deep walks away, Starlight threatens Homelander with the videotape of him screaming at everyone on the airplane and then leaving them all to die. She threatens him with that footage. But this Homelander just doesn't give a fuck. He literally says, release the tape, I don't care, because if you do, I'm going to wipe out New York City. I'm going to destroy everything, burn everything down, because then he'll have nothing to lose. And I absolutely love this thing, because it literally made me think, like, it put imagery in my mind of an unhinged Homelander. Like, if he had no affiliation with the Seven, with the government, and he was just, like, hated by the public, he is the strongest being out there. Like, he is the Superman. Like, he's like an evil Superman. And if he was this unhinged being, he would destroy and kill millions before anyone could even come close to stopping him. So I do think like I said in the beginning of this video, I do think eventually we will get that version of Homelander, at least like some part of that, of him destroying a city, which I can't wait to see. I think it's going to come. But this scares Starlight like a lot. Like hearing those words from Homelander scares her. So she calls Huey and she says that Homelander's getting worse and she wants to back out. She wants to leave. But Huey reassures her that he and the others are very close to figuring out some sort of way to kill Homelander, so she needs to stay close to him, and she agrees. So after this, we go back to the Deep, and I thought this was comedy gold, this scene, as we see him banging some girl, and he looks straight ahead, and there's an octopus watching him through his aquarium room that he has, and it seems like he got more turned on by the octopus watching him than by actually banging this girl. Like, he's saying all these lines, like, you're so wet, like, all this stuff, like, he's talking to the octopus. I thought this was so funny, because he's like Aquaman, right? So like he sees the water's animals more like his own species than humans. So I just love that he like relates to these beings more than humans. So like he gets turned on by them more. Just by like, and he gets turned by an octopus watching him. I thought it was so funny. It had me cracking up. Hilarious. After this, we see that Butch is having some side effects from taking that pill. While in Grace's house, he goes to the bathroom and throws up. We see that he's visibly sick. I think the show is showing this to us for a purpose. I don't think it's just telling us that he's getting some sort of cold from these pills. Like there's a reason why he's being sick, and I think the more times that he takes these pills, it's going to take a bigger toll on his body. And I think that maybe towards the end, if he does take it in order to have some sort of battle with Homelander, it could end up being the wrong move for him. It could end up being a mistake, as by the end of it, it could be detrimental to his health. Like this could take him out. Like just keep taking and taking it. It could eventually be something that has bigger repercussions than we actually think. So we see that he's sick. After this, we go back to the flashback where we see Black Noir. I told you that his face was all messed up because he didn't have his helmet on. And we see that the Crimson Countess says that Soldier Boy died. She says she saw Soldier Boy die and that a helicopter took him away. And so I think this helicopter wasn't an American helicopter. I think it was a Russian helicopter. And that's where he is. He's being experimented on or something for the gain of the Russians or whatever it is, right? So after this, we see that Butch wants to leave. But the little kid doesn't want him to leave, Homelander's kid. And so in order for, like, I don't know why he tells this kid, like, this in this way, but he says that, have you ever thought that I don't want to look upon your face because of what you did to my Becca? Referring to his mom, because he killed his mom. So this enrages the kid, he gets, like, that heat vision eyes, he's about to do something to Butch, but then he just ends up telling Butch that he hates him, and he walks away. Like, I don't know why Butch, like, I get that he maybe want the kid to not care about him so much in case, like, he does die, or I don't know, but he would just, this was such like a dick line to say, a little kid. But after this, we get another hilarious scene as Homelander is serving seafood to the Deep. And that's already, I thought that was funny just on itself. Like, Homelander is such a dick that he's going to serve the Deep his own kind. But then he ends up serving him a dish of the octopus that he was just watching. octopus named Timothy. And the Deep is like saying that Timothy's got a kid. He's saying that Timothy is saying that he has a family, and he doesn't want to eat him, obviously. But Homelander pretty much forces him to eat the octopus. He ends up eating it, and this I think was some sort of like initiation for the Deep to maybe be reintegrated back into the Seven. Like if he didn't do this, then he wouldn't be back in the Seven. But as we'll see in this next scene, we go back to that TV show where they're gonna pick 2 more members for the Seven, and they pick Supersonic, who's Alex, the guy who's been talking to Starlight, and Starlight did warn Alex about joining the Seven. She said that Homelander is very unhinged, like now's not a good time, but Supersonic insists that he'll join because someone has to have Starlight's back, which I think he's doing it for a more selfish reason. But that's what he says. And then the second member is the Deep, as we see. And so Supersonic and the Deep come back to the Seven, but now the big reveal at the end is Homelander saying that him and Stargirl are in love and that they're dating. And this is some sort of push by him and the publicity team in order to get maybe Homelander's ratings back up even more, or to make them more likable towards the public. This felt like a very Hunger Games sort of move. Anyone that's seen the Hunger Games, I forgot what the main characters' names were. Pita and Katniss. They were pretending to be in love so that the public would like them more, because everyone loves a good love story. And so this seems like the same sort of thing, as Homelander says, #Homelight. And Stargirl goes with it, though, because what Huey said, that that they're close to killing him, so you need to stay close to him. So what's better than having this some sort of fake relationship where Homelander actually believes that Stargirl likes him, which will make Homelander think that he's vulnerable, or like it'll create like a vulnerability for Homelander, to have Stargirl do this. So she's visibly upset. She clenches her fist at the end while she kisses Homelander. But it was a good shock value for the end of the episode, and I liked it a lot. So for this episode, I rated like a 4.1 out of 5. I thought, it was still in the same tier as the first 2, maybe like a little bit better. But collectively as a whole, for all 3 episodes, I'm giving it all a rating of a 4 out of 5. I think that's, if you round them all together, it creates like this 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10 range for all the episodes. I thought they were all great. I honestly, like, my main takeaway is I'm just happy to have the show back. Like the vulgarness of it, the over-sexuality of it, the dark humor, like the comedy. It's sort of like having like a superhero genre story, because sometimes, like, I don't know about you guys, like I do get the MCU fatigue sometimes. I still love it. I still go to the theaters. I still get excited. I still, get hyped for all those movies. But it is nice to have something that's in the same realm of superheroes, but not MCU. And as we know, DC is not doing the best job of their content right now. So the fact that we have shows like The Boys, like Invincible, where it gives us like that darker take, that more realistic take on superheroes, I love it. Because that's sort of like what the DC should be, in some sort of way. But this bumps it up to like 11 in terms of like, like the sexual stuff, the language, the gore. It really makes it like a very adult content sort of show, which I love. As an adult now, like, I can enjoy stuff like this. So I loved it. And there's one more thing I wanted to say about the show in general. I think like the writing for this season, or so far, these first 3 episodes are really great. I think they're tying a lot of things together. They're making Homelander, like I said, like something that's really like dangerous now. Like if he becomes unhinged, like you can tell them teasing him becoming like this unhinged, unstoppable being. That I just love that. And I just love how the show makes it seem like they're like these guys, but they're also like these celebrities as well. And I think that's like kind of what it would be in real life. So I love the show for doing that. I think all the characters are doing great. Huey's got a story. Starlight's got a story. Butch has a story. No one seems to be left out. Marvin's got a story with his dad. All this sort of mysteriousness behind Soldier Boy. Grace is getting involved. The little kid has his own little thing going. It seems like every character is having their time in the spotlight. Even Stan, who seems to be regretting the soups and now adopted Victoria. Now Victoria Newman is a soup, and she's claimed to be naughty. Like, it has all this stuff going on, but it does blend together pretty well. It's not like it's messy or it's convoluted or it's too confusing. I think there's some confusing aspects, but not enough to make me be thrown off or anything like that. So I think the writing's great, cinematography even's great, Anthony Starr and everyone else put on a great performance. So like I said, I'm just happy to have the show back. Can't wait to cover this next week. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it. Please subscribe if you're new. It's probably next week. I'll be doing another recap for episode 4. Probably won't be as long of a video because we'll be talking about 1 episode instead of 3. And comment down below. What did you guys think of the first 2 episodes? Did you guys like it? Did you love it? Tell me down below anything I missed, anything you want to comment, or maybe something you saw that I just happened to didn't talk about that you want to be discussed. We'll talk about down below. And that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching like always, and have a great rest of the day. I will see you on the next video.